Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and I'm going to be doing a Majespecter deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck it was actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Zach. And this deck is an extremely fun deck to play because I've included the Draco Slayer cards in this build to make it extremely spicy. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell near the scene, become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like in your name description in a single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. And definitely give Zach some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Banboko. Banboko is one of the best cards in the entire deck because on summon you get to add a Majespecter monster from your deck to your hand, which is a super good effect to be able to use. And all of your Majespecter main deck monsters actually share a common effect that they cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects as well, giving you a little bit of protection. We then play 3 copies of the Majespecter QB. QB is a definite 3 of as well because on summon this card lets you add a Majespecter trap from your deck to your hand. We then play 3 copies of Ogama. Ogama is definitely a 3 of as well in this deck because when this card is normal or special summon, you can set one Majespecter spell or trap card directly from your deck to your side of the field, but it cannot be activated this turn, which is totally fine because you're basically just setting up your spell and trap cards to be able to lock down the opponent and disrupt their plays. We're then playing 3 copies of Majesty Pegasus. Majesty Pegasus is insane because this card is always treated as a Majespecter monster, which is really cool. I love that about this card. This card can also search out any field spell you want from your deck, which is really insane about this card, because we can search out some extremely powerful cards like Secret Village of the Spellcaster to be able to lock down the opponent from all spell cards. We can search out cards like Sky Iris, which is really nice, and we can even search out the Majespecter field spell, which is insanely powerful in this build. This card also has a really good pendulum effect that if you have a Draco Slayer or Majespecter card in your other pendulum zone, you can add a Draco Slayer pendulum monster with a different original name than that card from your deck to your hand. Then destroy one card in your pendulum zone, which is a great effect to be able to use with this card. We then play 3 copies of Phoenix. Phoenix is really good in this deck as well. You want to play this card as a 3 of because it has a really good monster effect that if this card on the field is just from a battle by card effect, then you can special summon out a Draco Slayer monster from your deck, except another copy of this card, and if you do, it's treated as a tuner, which is great to help us synchro summon in this build and just getting this additional monster on the field. It combos extremely well with your copy of Luster Pendulum to be able to use Luster Pendulum's effect, because even if this card is destroyed in the pendulum zone, it still goes off, which is really nice. We then play 3 copies of Dynamite. Dynamite's a definite 3 of as well in this deck, because this card has a great pendulum effect that you can target a Draco Slayer or Dynamis card in your other pendulum zone and special summon it, which is a really good effect to be able to use to special summon out one of our Draco Slayers to our side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Luster Pendulum. Luster Pendulum is a definite 3 of in the deck and is super important for this deck. This card is so powerful and really insane. Because once per turn, if you have a card in your other pendulum zone, you can destroy that card, and if you do, add one monster or add one card from your deck to your hand with the same name as that card, which is really good because it sets up your extract for another card to be able to pendulum summon it out. It also gives you a search, and it combos extremely well with your copy of Phoenix because Phoenix's effect will go off when it's popped with Luster Pendulum, which is insanely good. This card is a definite 3 of in the deck and is an extremely important card for this deck. We then play 3 copies of Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon. This card is good as a 3 of in the deck because it's actually a searcher that the only effect we're ever going to use on this card is to discard this card, pay 500 life points to be able to add a level 8 or lower Dragon Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand, which is always going to be your copy of your Luster Pendulum that you're actually searching off your copy of Odd Eyes' effect, which is really neat. We then play 3 copies of Performance Skullcrabat Joker. Joker's a definite 3 of as well in this deck. So on normal summon, this card has the ability to add a Odd Eyes card from your deck to your hand, which is great to be able to search out your copy of Revolution Dragon and is essentially the searcher for the searcher for your copy of Luster Pendulum, which is really neat. We then play 3 copies of Harmonizing Magician. Harmonizing Magician comes in extremely handy in this deck because on special summon, this card actually gives you the ability to special summon a Pendulum Magician directly from your deck to your side of the field, which is going to set you up for so many different plays. This card is really good as a 3 of in this deck. And the cards we're actually going to be summoning off this card's effect is going to be Purple Poison Magician. This is a really good 1 of in this deck, and it's really neat to be able to special summon off your copy of Harmonizing Magician, but I actually have a second target in this deck for your copy of Harmonizing Harmonizing Magician, which is going to be a single copy of Perform Pal Celestial Magician, which is a definite one of in this deck. This card is super powerful in this deck because it gains all sorts of different effects depending on the kind of card you have on the field. If you have a fusion monster on the field, this card can attack directly. If you have a synchro, your opponent cannot activate monster effects. If you have an XZ monster, this card's attack becomes double its original attack, going to 3,000. And if you have a pendulum monster, then during the end phase, you can add a pendulum monster from your deck to your hand, which is insanely powerful for this card to have. You can just special summon it off your copy of Harmonizing, but you can also search it off your copy of your Skullcrabat, which is really cool because it is a pendulum magician and it's a Perform Pal monster as well, which is really neat. We then play a single copy of Astrograph Sorcerer. Astrograph Sorcerer is a great one-of in this deck because you have so many different ways of your cards getting destroyed, and being able to just summon this card out to your side of the field is great as an extender. It combos really well with your copy of Luster Pendulum, and it's great to be able to get that search off this card's effect. It's a definite one-of in this build because it's just super good in just about any Pendulum deck. Plus, it's a scale 1, which every so often will come up. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're just going to be playing a few spells in this deck. And we're going to start off with a single copy of Terraforming. Terraforming is extremely important in this deck to get to our field spells, because we're pretty much only playing field spells in this deck for our spell cards, besides our Pendulum monsters, which count as spells in the Pendulum Zone. We're then playing a single copy of Majesty's Pegasus. Majesty's Pegasus is really neat in this deck, as all Majespecter monsters gain 300 attack and defense, and you can also tribute a Wind Spellcaster monster to be able to special summon out a level 4 lower Majespecter monster from your deck, essentially turning any of your Majespecter monsters into Bonboko, or the exact one that you need, like Ogama, or any of them that you need, which is really cool. We then play a single copy of Sky Iris. Sky Iris is really good as a one-up in this deck to be able to pop a card on your side of the field, to be able to search an Odd Eyes card from deck to hand, which is just really good to be able to do that, because you can search out your copy of Revolution Dragon off this card's effect. We then play a single copy of Secret Village of the Spellcaster. This card's great to be able to lock down the opponent, because if you control a Spellcaster type monster, your opponent cannot activate spells, which is insanely powerful in this deck because all of your Majespecter monsters are spellcasters, and a bunch of our Pendulum monsters are spellcasters as well, like Astrograph and stuff like that. We also have a lot of extra deck monsters that are spellcasters, so it's super easy to lock down your opponent in this deck with this card, and it's really, really good. The only downside is if you don't control a spellcaster, then you can't activate spell cards, which is a big downside, but just by normal summoning out a card, we can turn the lock basically back on, which is super easy to do. So, that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. I know, only 4 spells, right? So for the traps, we're going to be playing some really interesting ones. We're going to start off with a single copy of Magister Tempest. This card is a really good one-of in the deck because it just helps out, because it's basically like a Solemn Strike, that when a monster would be special summoned or a monster effect is activated, tribute a Wind Spellcaster monster, negate the summoner activation if you destroy that card. It is a speed spell 3 counter trap, which is great for this deck. We then play 2 copies of Majespecter Tornado. This card is great as a 2-of in the deck because it lets you tribute a Wind Spellcaster monster and then target one monster that your opponent controls and banish it, which is insanely good in this deck to be able to just deal with an opponent's card by using this card's effect. You play them at 2 and 1 in this deck because I feel like that's all you really need. This card is just going to lock down your opponent and basically stop a summon, and this card banishes cards, which is why I really like playing the Tornado at 2 in this deck, because it just deals with your opponent's normal summon. It deals with any exact card that you need to deal with that your opponent might put on the field. It deals with boss monsters because it just banishes them, and it's a really good 2-of in this deck. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Ignister. Ignister is a definite 2-of in this deck. It's very easy to put on your side of the field and roll through multiple copies of Ignister. I almost played this card as a 3-of in this deck, but I feel like 2 is all you really need, and it's all I really went into in playtesting. It's great for this deck because once per turn, you can target a Pendulum monster on the field or 1 card in the Pendulum Zone, destroy it, and we do shuffle 1 card on the field into the deck, and it does not target, which is extremely powerful. And once per turn, you can special summon out a Draco Slayer monster from your deck in defense position, but it cannot be used as a single material for a summon, which is a crazy powerful effect. We then play a single copy of Dynastor Power. This card is just a good one-of in the deck to give you a little bit of protection, and it's a great one-of in this deck. We then play a single copy of Majespecter Paladin. Majespecter Paladin is a great searcher for this deck, which is why we're just playing this card as a one-of, but it's great as a one-of in this build. We then play a single copy of Baguska to lock down the opponent. This card is great in this deck to be able to just throw in defense position and lock down the opponent. One copy of Lightning Chidori. This card bounces cards off the field, which is really nice as a basically just super easy to summon card because we have a bunch of wind level 4s in this particular deck, so it's super easy to put on your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Hope Harboring Dragon Titanic Galaxy to round out for the XZs. This card is made with 2 copies of Ignister, which is really easy to pull off in this deck to have a spell negate. You don't summon it all that often, but it's really great to be able to put on your side of the field just in case you don't have the copy of Secret Village. If you already have Secret Village, you don't really need to make this card, but it's still a great card to put on the field. We then play a single copy of Access Code. This card pops multiple cards on the field. You can change it out for Avermax if you want to change it out for Avermax. That is an option for you guys, but it's still really good because it can pop multiple cards on the field, and it comes out absolutely massive. We then play a single copy of Appaloosa. Appaloosa is great as a one-of in this particular deck because it helps you out to give you monster negates on the field, and those arrows are awesome because 3 of them point down, so it's super easy to pendulum summon onto your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Unicorn to spin stuff. This card is awesome in the deck. One copy of Selene. Selene is a spellcaster, so you can actually make your copy of your Secret Village live while this card's on the field, which is really nice, and it also brings back some of your cards from the graveyard just in case they do touch the graveyard. It can bring spellcasters back, which comes up every so often. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Phoenix to pop spells and traps. 2 copies of Beyond the Pendulum. This card can pop cards and it can search pendulums, which is why we're playing this card as a 2-of. I wanted to play this card at 1 and play 3 copies of Ignister, but I ended up with 2 and 2, and it's worked out fantastic. I love 2 copies of Beyond the Pendulum in this deck because it comes up all the time and you can use it multiple times, which is really nice in follow-up turns. I really love this card. We then play a single copy of IP Masquerena to round out the extra deck. This card is really good in the deck because it lets you go into Unicorn during the opponent's turn and even go into Appaloosa in this deck, which is really insane because getting Appaloosa during the opponent's turn is just really, really good. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played Majespecter before, you definitely should give this deck a try because it's really fun, especially comboed with the Draco Slayer cards because it's just really powerful. The Draco Slayers give this deck the necessary bump that it really needed, and I'm really excited to play this deck. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.